So welcome everybody. This is an ongoing series that has been published on YouTube about EUYO alumni. And this time around we have Christoph Koncz, which is
Hi,
here with us.
everybody.
I'm not sure in which part of the screen he will show up because, because of the pandemic, we are doing this on Zoom. Otherwise, we would have been together, hopefully, doing this. So for those who didn't know, these are just small interviews. Let's call them chats. They sound better this way, where we just ask alumni what they're up to, what they've been doing, what they remember about YU, if they have like advices. So I think we can start. Is that okay for you?
Absolutely wonderful.
Perfect. So first, questionable, how are you doing? Which is like a very important question.
Well, luckily, actually, everything is going very well here in Vienna. My family and me, we have all been healthy. That is the most important point. And of course, in Austria, there was for more than 2 months, there was no public events, no cultural events happening. So also I'm a member of the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra, and we couldn't perform. And also we play in the Vienna State Opera. So also these performances were cancelled. But actually, it seems like slowly things are picking up again. And we are actually planning to start rehearsals next week.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And also the government just yesterday announced that actually we will have the possibility to make the Salzburg Festival happen. So from the 1st of August we'll be in Salzburg, which is actually our annual thing, but we were not so sure whether this is going to take place this year. And now they're really trying to find out the modalities, how it works, but we're really positive about this.
It's like a fresh air for musicians, you know, like being sure that you can start again, like even not full time because things are still developing somehow, but this is amazing.
Exactly. So we are all very eager to get back to play together and also to see each other and to spend time together.
Absolutely lovely. Oh, super. That's very nice to hear. Here in Italy, the situation is a bit like we're still trying to understand. It seems that some things are going on, some things don't, but I'm sure that the developments we're gonna see are gonna be the best for us, for our health and everything else. So, I don't know where you are precisely, but Christoph Koncz, everybody. So if it's fine for you, I would love to give a little bit of your bio to the people that maybe know you, but not precisely, because you are quite the multitasking musician, I could say. Like you are conducting, and I've read that you have been conducted also the Camerata from the Royal Concertgebouw. That you've been appointed as a chief conductor, if I am correct, of the Les Musiciens de Louvre.
That's principal guest conductor.
But guest conductor, that's true. That's true. And you are the chief conductor of the Camera Academy in
Nice.
Exactly.
Exactly, yes.
My pronunciation of German is very bad.
You're doing great, Agnese.
Thank you so much. But also, fun fact about you could be that when you were kind of a child, you joined a motion picture, which was called The Red Violin, that hit the theaters in 98, if I remember well.
Yes.
And it won an Academy Award for original best score.
Absolutely. Actually, the premiere of this film was in Italy, and it was at the Venice Film Festival. So it was a very great experience, really, because that was the year when Saving Private Ryan with Tom Hanks by Steven Spielberg was also premiered. Okay. So we had our press conference and we moved out of the hall and Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg were coming in. So it was really quite interesting. Actually, the premiere of the film was my 11th birthday. So I have really very fond memories of this time.
That's fantastic. Like that, this is one of those things that you will come back to it like until you're 98 and be like, do you know that when I was 11, I got to go to the Venice Film Festival because I was starring in a motion picture. Like fantastic.
And what was very nice actually was also at this occasion, I met Joshua Bell, who was recording the soundtrack, and also the producer of the film, Neve Fitchman. And there was now an event in 2018 when Joshua Bell was performing the score of the film with the live film on stage with the New York Philharmonic.
Wow.
In David Geffen Hall in New York. And actually, Neve called me and asked me whether I would want to come and play an encore with them after the show. And of course I came. This was last October 2018. And I haven't seen Neve Fitchman, the producer, for more than 20 years. So it was really was a great experience to connect again and to have a very, very interesting conversation with him. So was a great experience.
Fantastic. The more I read about you and the more you talk, the more I'm like, wow, that's like amazing. But so nice. And it's so nice that you're telling us all these stories, because it really is nice a lot. So, but this purpose is, this interview, the purpose of it is that because I know that you've been a member of EUYO, if I remember well, 2002, 2003, is that correct?
Correct. Exactly.
Super. So some time ago, not even that much. Also because you're 32, is that correct? Can I like speak that out, that you're just 32?
Of course. Of course.
Perfect. So something that maybe, like you've said that, but Christoph Koncz, he is the principal. Let me get this right. You are the principal of the second violins of the Vienna Philharmonic.
Exactly.
Perfect. So this is it. So I have just a couple of questions for you, because I joined EUYO. Did I say who I am? Did I
Agnese, please, you have to introduce yourself.
Did I just forget that? Hi, everybody. My name is Agnese Lecchi. I am a flute player, and I joined EUYO anyway this year for the spring and the summer tour. So because of the whole pandemic thing, we couldn't do the spring tour, and we did it online. I don't know if you, Christoph, know.
Actually, I didn't know.
We did it online. It was fantastic. So just had a lot of master classes and meetings all together. We got to talk with with Vasily Petrenko, which is our chief conductor. We got to talk with I don't know, our coach member. I can do it. Coaches for the sectionals. Wow, that was complicated. And we had like workshops. We tried to perform together, but on Zoom is a bit complicated.
Of course.
But it was fun, and no one was expecting this. So I've just heard, of this EUYO energy, and even online I could feel it.
Yes,
I could feel that they were like, no, there's a pandemic. We just go on. We do something. We'll come up with something, and it was amazing, absolutely. So I couldn't join on a physical location to do this.
But it will happen eventually, Agnese.
Yeah, exactly. Like eventually it will happen, hopefully. We're not sure if this summer, it depends on a lot of things, but sooner or later it will happen. So I have some questions regarding like your experience in general, because for example, like when it comes to your profession, something that you did in EUYO, do you still have it like in your pocket? Like a skill, a feeling, a memory, something, just even one word it can be that comes from the EUYO experience?
Well, actually, to give a bit of a background, I was actually 14 when I joined the EUYO, and I had been really very interested in making music in an orchestra before, and this was the very first opportunity I could get because I was just reaching the age where I could do it.
Yeah.
And I come from a music family, and my father is a conductor, so I have been exposed to a lot of orchestra music before, and this was always my dream to participate in an orchestra. So of course I was extremely excited to be part of this. And was also, of course, at 14 to meet all these people. I was also the youngest by far. So the next one was Blaise Desjardins, who was, I think, 17 or 18. So I was really kind of the youngest there. And it was just amazing to get together and to have the experience of putting together orchestra music with the section rehearsals, as you mentioned, and then the full rehearsals. We had, of course, Lutz Köhler, who was the conductor at the time, who was studying with us. And then it was Vladimir Ashkenazi, who was the music director at the time. So we had him for 2 different programs, and it was a 6-week tour in 2003. And we had Mahler First Symphony and Beethoven 9 out of all pieces. So it was really very inspiring. And of course, I was actually going through my diary in preparation for our conversation because I had kept the diary during this time, and I had written down every day what I have done. And I have to say it's very impressive because many of the things I wrote down, I remember very clearly, very precisely. And I think this is one of the big strengths that you have as a young person, especially with other people in connection. You can really create memories which will stay with you for a very long time. Musical experiences, of course, to us the most important, but then also the social, just the way of being together. It's really wonderful, and many of these people I still see today. they're of course all over the continent, maybe even in the States and everything. But
Yeah.
wherever I go, I meet musicians who were with me in the EUYO. So this is a very nice experience.
You're still in contact with them. That's amazing.
Well, it just happens that you meet them. For example, last December, I was conducting the Philharmonia Orchestra and their concertmaster, Scholt Vichontal.
Mm-hmm.
And he was actually my very first stand partner. So the very first stand partner I ever had in an orchestra was Scholt. So now he's the concertmaster of the Philharmonia Orchestra. And I saw him in this capacity there, and we had the recording, we had the concert, so it was very intense. It was great to see him again, of course. And so this just happens. You just go, you go on tour, or you write to people online, and then you say, "Oh, you're in town. Can you get together?" So EUYO is really a big family, and continues to be this way.
This is an amazing thing that you say, because even though we did it online, I kind of had this feeling that, like, I somehow made friends with people over a screen, which is very difficult to understand, because you don't have the real connection that could be in reality, because the physical connection that you could have. I'm not saying like hugs or whatever, but just being there and playing together and sharing the same emotion. But somehow we all got friends. Like, we still talk to this day, even though it was just an online residency, if you can say that. So it's brilliant. Absolutely. But by the way,
actually, yes.
No, you go.
I just wanted to tell you more about 2002. So actually, of course, I think it has changed quite a bit, the EUYO, since then, because back then it was only 15 states who were members of the European Union. So of course, was not as many nations represented by this. And it was interesting also in that aspect that at the time there was hardly any other online activities. You were having an email address maybe, but you didn't connect online other than that. And your phone was working maybe in one country, maybe not in the other one, you know. Then we didn't have internet access. I was even reading today that I was going to the shop to buy a phone card in order to be able to call home to my parents, you know, from different countries. So in order to make it more useful, I used the phone card. So very different times in that aspect. And also I was in the Verbi Festival Orchestra 2 years later, and Verbi is a festival in Switzerland. And of course, there's also a lot of international artists there, and they are also Americans and Asians and Russians. So this is a bit different than the EUYO. But also back then in 2004, Verbi was kind of really separated from the whole country, because you were really up in the mountain, and you didn't have any way of having entertainment or anything, because it was just closed down even during the summer when the orchestra was preparing. So the only way to entertain yourself was actually to meet the people. And this was really something, and in the EUYO as well, it was really, you spent so much time together, quality time, and really getting to know each other, which I think nowadays with all the distractions is a little bit more hard to do. And also you're constantly connected to how you would have been at home with your phone, for example, which back then you were really away. It was completely different from what you were used to. So I feel very privileged to have been part of this in this time, because also I have a lot of friendships from this time.
Of course, it's just the deeper connections that they stay all your life. Those are maybe those kind of friends that you don't hear from them in a while, and then when you meet, you're just like, that's it.
Exactly.
We've
and you can connect.
Contact, like, even though not physically. And that
exactly.
Those are the best ones, like, in any case, not only musical in an orchestra, but just friendships in general, I must say. And
I realized, I wrote down that I didn't sleep very much during these 6 weeks. So I was always noting how, today finally I slept long. So
like, we had a bus drive, I managed to sleep.
Yeah, exactly. Like we were going for 11 hours on a bus ride with a short break in between. That was when I slept. So.
Exactly. Those are tour times. It's always like, I sleep on buses. Like,
exactly.
Most of the time, yeah, it's fine.
But also, of course, if you're young, you can do this.
Yeah, absolutely. You're talking a lot about friendship and it's amazing.
Oh,
And
hello.
I read on your bio that you got to perform, like, because you also do a lot of chamber music.
Yes.
So you performed, like, for example, with Leonidas Kavakos and Renaud Capuçon, sorry. I'm not very nice with pronunciation, I'm trying my best. Did you know that they were EUYO members?
Of course, Leonidas was actually, he was also 14 when he joined the EUYO. So I think at the time he was really the youngest. And this was a great connection to have with him. But actually, we have been friends for a very long time and we have performed together, but also we see each other very often on tour. And it's a amazing coincidence that we were both in the same orchestra. I think actually after that, he didn't get to play a lot of orchestra anymore, because he was very successful, of course, as a soloist.
Yeah, of course. And by any chance, do you feel something like something particular when you perform with these people that you can be like, maybe this comes from EUYO, like maybe this is a sort of, you know, that I always talk about, like the energy that it's underneath it. Maybe you can be like, yeah, EUYO days, like it's like being back there.
What's sure is that all the people who have been in the orchestra, they share the love of music and the enthusiasm which comes with it. And of course, this touring experience, it does change you for the rest of your life. But I think it's mostly this enthusiasm for music which comes through.
Which is the best thing you can hope for when you work with a musician.
Of course.
I have one last question, but not the least. And this is just a personal one from me, because I haven't been able to enjoy all of this, the touring, and yet this whole thing. We know that we can expect great conductors, amazing colleagues, and just fantastic music. But on a human level, you were talking about friendships, you were talking about like making connections. What can you suggest us to prepare for this? Like, can you just suggest us to be as open-minded as we can, or just be yourselves, the usual thing, just something?
I think this is actually exactly what you said, to be open-minded, to see what experiences are going to come. If you are with 80 or 90 people, of course, everybody will have their own ideas, and you will actually, if you're open about it, you will hear a lot of interesting thoughts which you might have not had before. That's definitely what happened to me. And I was 14 and was the first time away really for a long time from my home. And I had, of course, been brought up by my parents, and I had their ideas very strong present to me. But this open-mindedness helped me also to hear other people's ideas about life and about music and in general. And I think this is probably the most important thing about this time, apart from the musical experiences, is to actually spend time together and try to make the most of it, and visit places and see as much as you can in a short time.
Perfect. It's the best advice I could hear. So thank you.
And I also wanted to say, because you were mentioning the spring tour and the summer tour, at the time, of course, there were also spring tours, which I couldn't participate in because I was still going to high school, but
yeah, true.
Summer tours. And so I did return to the EUYO in 2003, and we had a very interesting tour because it was split by Ashkenazi and Bernhard Haitink, who is the Emirate music director.
Okay.
And we played Shostakovich 10 with Ashkenazi, which was a very strong impression, of course. And then Haitink came and conducted Mahler 6. And of course, Mahler with Haitink is a very special experience. And we were actually rehearsing in Rome. We were two weeks in Rome.
Okay.
And 2003 was a legendarily hot summer. It was one of the hottest.
You remember very well.
I remember very well because I was
Italy.
Exactly, and I was also, of course, very interested to get to know Rome. So I was going around like a tourist on our free day. But of course, it was like 48 degrees and it was incredible. And actually, they had to shut down the electricity because everybody was using the air conditioner, and it was just the system broke down. So you were not allowed to use air conditioner anymore. It was really very interesting. And then we also started rehearsing for the Haitink periods in Bolzano, which of course is a little bit in between Austria and Italy. So it's, for me, it was one of the best connections of both of these worlds, you know. And I had a great time there. So we were going, and this was a big festival too. Also, we went to Edinburgh, we went to Conzachabao, we went to the BBC Proms. It was my first time at the BBC Proms. And I think this was the final tour there. Final stop of the tour was in London. So we had a really fantastic time. And we were also in Naples. We played in Ravello.
Yeah, in the Ravello Festival.
In the gardens outside, you know, where Wagner was inspired for his Parsifal.
Yes.
So and we went to Pompeii and everything. And actually, close friends of mine, Eduardo Portai, and he was there, and I met him now recently in Cologne just by accident also. So this is really, you remember the times you were having with them. Or I was in Athens in the park, and we were playing cards and everything. So it's very nice to come back to all this after many years and to connect over these stories and just to see how people have been doing in the last years. So it's very nice.
That's amazing. It sounds a lot like something that me 20 years up, like after now, I don't know how to say this in English, but like it's something that I would love to say, you know, like I remember that time when I was on the bus and we were playing cards and
exactly.
then there, and like, because this is the whole thing about being in an environment which, for example, EUYO is, it's the full package. It's not only the performing, which is fantastic because it's a great opportunity, but it's also the people that you meet, that they have this common way of being there and being like, you know, let's do it. Let's make the best out of it. And then that's actually what you remember.
Exactly. And by now with 27 EU member states, you have also the full breadth of whole of the European Union. So it's a very nice experience to get to know all this.
Exactly. You get the Spanish, you get all the Mediterranean people, and then you go like a little bit north. It's amazing.
And it was actually also in my time in the orchestra, it was very nice to see these different mentalities behind, and also how they were sticking together. And of course it was, you know, you were seeing all these differences, and it was very interesting to witness.
Absolutely. Well, thanks. I really don't know how to say it. It was lovely to talk to you, like extremely lovely. And
same here, Agnese.
Thanks. Thank you so much. Everything has been precious. And I was a bit starstruck when I heard your name. So glad to have talked to you. Absolutely. So I'm going to thank also everybody who has been watching this or listening. Not sure, but in any case. So just the next episode is going to be up somewhere, somehow. I don't know when, but there's going to be a next episode. So thank you so much. Thank you again, Christoph, a lot. And bye, everybody.